Hello my people, FinerBub here. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we are talking about fire starters, specifically these tinder options that are sold at King Soopers. King Soopers is a very popular chain of grocery stores here in Denver, Colorado. It's owned by Kroger. I figured we could just break down the prices of all of these different options and sort of talk about what the differences are and how they're made, and then we can test them out to see which is the best option. First up, we have the Pine Mountain Fatwood. Fatwood is basically wood from a dead pine tree that's soaked in sap resin. Basically, when a pine tree dies, the sap rushes to the roots and to the trunk to try to save the tree. And usually what happens is the tree dies anyway, and then when the wood dries out, the sap is just concentrated in the areas around the base of each branch, like at the knot where it connects to the trunk, and in the roots. So yeah, fatwood is just this wood that's amber colored, smells like pine trees, and it's very flammable. You just shave off a few shavings with your knife and it'll light extremely easily and burn for a long time at very hot temperatures. This box costs $5.99, so $6, and it comes with 22 sticks in here. And they mention on the box that you should use 2 or 3 for a fire, but you can really just use 1 and you'll be fine. So if you divide $5.99 by 22, which is the amount that are in here, you get 27 cents per stick, or 27 cents per fire starter, however you want to think of it. Next up, we have the Pine Mountain Extreme Starts, and these are more synthetic. They're much more like a Duraflame. Comes in this little package, and you basically just like light the paper and then the whole thing burns. This has a lot more toxic materials in it, so yeah, not the best. I mean, they say it's for indoor and outdoor use, and as long as you have a strong pull on your chimney's flue, I guess that's fine. But yeah, generally I like to avoid these types of fire starters just because they are a little bit worse for the environment and for your lungs if you happen to breathe in the fumes coming off of them. This box is $6.99, so $1 more than the Fatwood, and there are only 12 in here, and so that puts you at 55 cents per fire. That's basically double what these ones cost. Yeah, so you definitely have some disadvantages here in terms of the toxicity of the fumes and the cost per fire. Okay, so next up, we have the Royal Oak Tumbleweeds, and these are essentially just wood shavings in a bundle that are soaked in paraffin wax. Paraffin wax is just candle wax. It's made from petroleum as opposed to beeswax, which is made by bees. It is all natural technically, but yeah, I mean, natural gas is natural and so is crude oil, but we all know how great that is for the environment, so take that with a grain of salt. So the Royal Oak Tumbleweeds come with 16 fire starters, and the box costs $5.49, so that comes out to 34 cents per fire. I wouldn't really recommend breaking these up just because they're already kind of falling apart as it is. So yeah, they'll make a bit of a mess, but I guess you could if you wanted to. Anyway, so last up we have the Strike a Fire matches from Diamond. And these are the only one with a built-in ignition source. There's like a little striker sandpaper strip right here, and if you can see, they're basically just like this, looks like pulverized cardboard that's like soaked in something. It doesn't say what's in here. These are pretty big as well, so you could probably break them in half. This box is by far the cheapest pack. It's $2.59 for 8 fire starters, so you don't get as many in the box, but they're still the most affordable. So $2.59 divided by 8 is 32 cents per fire, and then if you break these in half, you know, you don't get the match feature on every single one, but you know, we're basically comparing these as tinders, not as ignition sources, so you're probably gonna have a lighter anyway. So yeah, if you wanted to stretch these out even further, you could break them in half and then they'd cost you about 16 cents per fire. So if you haven't seen my last video about making homemade egg carton fire starters, you'll know that you can make those for free, and obviously financially that is better than having to buy these in the store. So I'll link my last video right up here. Feel free to check it out. I'll also leave a link down in the description. There are also plenty of natural tinders you can find out in the woods that are a great option that maybe I'll cover in another video, but these are just a few different options. And it should be noted that you should only use these where permitted, okay? So in your fireplace at home, in your backyard fire ring or whatever, if you have like a backyard bonfire setup, that's acceptable. And then also at some campgrounds, but you should know that there are a lot of wilderness areas that have restrictions on the different materials that you can burn because they want to maintain the ecosystem in that environment. So they definitely don't want you bringing in any artificial materials to burn, but they also generally will restrict you from bringing in firewood that's non-local because it changes the composition of the soil when the ash gets mixed into everything. So yeah, just make sure that when you're using these, you know that you're allowed. Otherwise, you know, stick to the natural solutions. But yeah, I just figured I'd test this out here, and there are definitely a lot of campgrounds that don't have restrictions like that. And of course, abide by all fire ban regulations depending on where you live. This has been a pretty smoky summer so far here in Denver due to all of the wildfires across the West and in Canada. So yeah, obviously use responsibly. So let's head on out to the backyard and we'll test each of these out and we can figure out which is the best at starting fires. All right. Okay, so it looks like it's down to just the strike or to the tumbleweed and the fatwood. Ooh, and it looks like fatwood is the winner. So you can see that out of the three, the fatwood definitely leaves the most residue. Just has a lot of that pitch melting out of it. So obviously if I'd processed this down a little bit more, it would have burned for longer, but it still burned longer than all the other ones. Let's just take extra safety precaution. Okay, so now that we've tested out these fire starters, there are some clear winners and clear losers. You know, I honestly was expecting these extreme starts, the ones that look like a Duraflame, to last the longest. I was basing that off of having used Duraflames in the past. I don't recommend Duraflame just because they do have a lot of chemicals and there are plenty of other ways to start a fire. Basically, I was expecting these to burn the longest and the hottest and everything, but as soon as I lit that paper, it went up and then it didn't even catch the fire starter on the inside. So these are definitely a no-go. They're the most expensive, the most toxic, and they're the worst at starting a fire. So I would not buy these Pine Mountain Extreme starts. Okay. So the Fatwood obviously lasted the longest, so we'll save that till the end. The Tumbleweeds lasted the second to longest, and you know, they're pretty affordable, but the flame that they produced was very small throughout the entire burning of the tinder bundle. So I would say that especially in like rainy conditions or really windy conditions, it's probably going to be harder for the flame from this tinder to transfer to some larger pieces of kindling just because the flame is smaller. So yeah, I would say that these are also out. If it's your only option, they'll work in a pinch, but as long as we're doing a comparison here, we're here to find out what the best is. And so yeah, I'm going to eliminate these as well. All right, so let's talk about these strike a fire matches. I really wasn't expecting the match feature on this to work very well, but it did light. And surprisingly, this had a very large flame that it produced. So yeah, I would say even if you break these in half and just light them with a lighter, these are a great option. They're by far the most affordable per fire. And yeah, they're just really easy to use. But my vote goes with the Fatwood. The Fatwood burned the longest and it had a very large flame in comparison to the others, except for maybe this one. And it did require a tiny bit of processing, but I kind of enjoy that part of the campfire experience. I like prepping the materials, I like prepping the wood, I like seeing how thin shavings I can produce with my knife, and obviously they lit very quickly and stayed lit for a long time. I don't think that it will light quite as easily if you just light it with a lighter without shaving it down first. So if you're looking for zero prep, then I would go with these. But if you're looking to have a little bit more fun, I think that you should go with the Pine Mountain Fatwood. There are plenty of other brands that sell Fatwood. You don't have to buy Pine Mountain brand. I've used some others in the past that I can't recall right now, and I've also used just Fatwood that I've found in the woods. But yeah, I personally always go for the more natural option. It puts less pollutants into the atmosphere, it puts less pollutants into the soil and into potentially water sources after it rains. So yeah, this is going to be my recommendation. If you're a frequent shopper at King Soopers, this box of Fatwood will last you a long time. There are 22 sticks in here, and as I said before, that only comes out to 27 cents per fire. Obviously, the egg carton fire starters that I showed you how to make in the last video are cheaper, but these are definitely better for the environment because they're made of naturally occurring materials that you can find in the woods. Alrighty, my people, that concludes today's episode of the FinerBub Show. If you've already used any of these fire starters, or if you have used others that you think I should check out, or if you have any questions or anything like that, I'd love to have you comment below, especially if you think your insight can help me disprove something that I think I already know. But before you do, I just want to thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you're looking for new gear or planning your next trip, don't let the small details stress you out. Remember, life's an adventure, so relax, breathe in the outdoors, and don't forget to appreciate the finer things. And stay safe out there. Only you can prevent forest fires. See you out there, people. Peace.